Hi guys, so it's November and it's my birthday month, which it's also Thanksgiving month, which is actually my favorite holiday. So overall November is just a really great month for me. And since it's my favorite month, I decided that I was going to read my favorite author this month. Just all through the month, I would just read this author's books. Before I get into who that author is, I want to make an update on Percy Jackson and the Battle of the Labyrinth. I'm still reading this. I'm that far through. I'm on page 272. And I'm just a little bit bored of Percy Jackson, to be honest. I've read all three books, just one after the other, and then this one's no different. As soon as I finished the third one, I hopped straight into it, and I'm just a little bit bored by that. One sec, I need a drink of water. So, moving on from that, as you guys most likely know if you've been watching my videos, Stephen King is my favorite author, and I should have made October my Stephen King reading month because it's October, it's the season, it's the spooky season. But I didn't. I am late to the party. So instead, I'm just going to read a lot of Stephen King this month. So, part of me really wants to reread The Shining for the third time. I don't know why, I just do. But I don't think I'm gonna reread The Shining just yet. I'm going to, when I plan on reading Doctor Sleep, then I'll reread The Shining. So I'm not gonna have any rereads in this video. So let's just get right into it. So the Stephen King books that I have not read are Night Shift, The Dead Zone, Thinner, Misery, The Dark Half, Needful Things, Dreamcatcher, Doctor Sleep, Cell, and Christine. Those are the ones that I own that I have not read. I have read Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, and It. The rest of them, some of them I've started and just didn't finish, and some of them I just haven't started at all. So it's going to be a mix between those two. And the first one, the most prominent one in my mind, the one that I keep thinking about coming back to, is one that I've actually started quite a few times, and I've never been able to make it past the 120 page mark. That is Dreamcatcher by Stephen King, obviously. By Stephen King. It's on the chunkier side. I'm probably going to start with the longer ones and then the shorter ones by the end of the month. This is a book about aliens. Essentially, it's about this group of four guys who, since they were young, have gone on a camping trip in November, I believe. It's not a camping trip, it's like a hunting trip in the woods of Maine. But this one year has been different. Um, when they were younger, they saved this, I think, autistic kid. I think it was like, I think he was autistic, from a group of bullies and have, put him in their friend group. And this camping trip is really different because this time a man stumbles into their area, like their lodge area, mumbling about lights in the sky and that they will be back and that they are looking for them. Um, and it turns out there are aliens, and it sounds really really good. What I have read of it, it is really good. There's a lot of fart jokes, which I don't really like, but it's whatever. It's an alien story. I've never really read anything about aliens before, so this should be really interesting. So this is the first one on my list. I don't see myself making it more through more than one Stephen King book, but we're gonna try this. So I'm gonna start with just one long one this month, and then we'll see how it goes from there. So next, it's not really a long one; it's really short. That is The Dark Half. I've started this one twice. Um, and the farthest I've gotten was chapter 6, I think. Chapter 5 or 6. I made it to chapter 6, which was page 65, and I didn't read past that. I don't know why. It's not boring or anything, but this book is basically about a writer who writes under a different name, and when he is outed as this pseudonym person, he decides to basically get rid of the pseudonym. So instead of writing under his pseudonym George Stark, he decides to just retire that entire idea and just write under Thad Beaumont, which is his real actual name. This was inspired by Stephen King's outing as Richard Bachman, which I find really interesting. However, this time it takes a darker turn. You see, Thad's different. When he was young, he had this thing happen to him, this event happened to him, where he had to have brain surgery, and the surgeons found um, pieces of teeth and eyeballs in his brain, which was basically a undeveloped twin, which I find really interesting. And apparently, a piece of that twin was transferred to George Stark, I'm guessing. And so when Thad buries George, George comes back to life as a entity type person guy who begins to go on a murder spree. And this book was thrilling and spooky and eerie, and I really did enjoy what I've read of it. I just haven't picked it up since. Okay, this next one is the one that I've been meaning to get to for forever, you guys, and that is Cell by Stephen King. This book is basically about a zombie apocalypse, pretty much, but it's not just your average zombie apocalypse. So basically, this story takes place in 2000, or oh no, it takes place on October 1st, I guess. And there's this thing that goes through all cell phones, which they call the pulse, at this specific time on this specific day. And whoever was on their cell phones at that time basically becomes a zombie. So the book follows the survivors, like the last group of survivors, the last few groups, sorry, of survivors from the pulse that were not on their cell phones, so they did not get turned to zombies. It follows them as they team up to find the big bad and figure out why this happened. I love a good zombie story. I love The Walking Dead. I love zombie movies just in general. I don't think I've ever read a zombie book. The closest thing that I've read is Frankenweenie, which is basically about a young boy who loses his dog in a tragic accident and decides to bring him back. But that's just like a Frankenstein retelling for like children. This is like real deal zombie stuff. I read the first, I think, 11 pages, and somebody bit a dog's ear off, which is very violent and very gory. So it sets up like a really good story, but I've heard that this is one of his worst books, along with Dreamcatcher. So that's 3 books, and they're decently sized books. Cell is 350 pages exact. I'm guessing that Dark Half is about 400, and Dreamcatcher is about 600 and something pages. So that's already quite a lot. But I'm going to add one more book to this list that I've been screaming at myself to read for a long time now. That is Christine by Stephen King. This is my dad's favorite Stephen King novel, It has very small font, but that's besides the point. This book, if you did not know already, is about this guy named Arnie, I think, who. Wait, let me check. Yep, Arnie, who basically one day is getting driven home from school by his friend Dennis, and they pass this house that Arnie sees a car in the front yard of and instantly falls in love. It's a Plymouth Fury, I believe, red Plymouth Fury, and he tells Dennis basically, hey, pull over. We're going back to that house, and I'm getting this car. Dennis does it and whatnot, and Arnie ends up buying the car. The car has a past. Apparently, one of the previous owners died in the car. I'm guessing is how it goes, and their spirit possesses the car. So the car begins killing people, and Arnie slowly becomes more and more obsessed with the car until it's too late, and the car has basically taken over Arnie, which I find a really interesting plot. But I've avoided this book for so long. It's not because of the length, because I know that I could read this book in like a few days to a week. It's because of how small the font is. And because I've heard that it drags at certain points in the book, which I hate when Stephen King books drag. Because when they drag on and on and on. A good example of this would be It. It goes on and on and on and on, and that's why it took me so long to finish it, was because half of the book was just info dump, info dump, info dump about stuff that we either already knew, stuff that we didn't need to know, such as a woman's cleavage, which unnecessary, but it happens. But I really do hope that that is not the case in this novel. And I was also thinking that throughout the month, I might read stories from Night Shift, which is a collection of 20 short stories written by King. Some of them scary, some of them thrillers, some of them just straightforward horror. I've read one out of this entire book, and that was Trucks, which is basically the book of the. It's like the short story that the movie Maximum Overdrive was based off of, and I hate that movie, but I love the book or the story. Some of these stories are really long, but I want to at least read two of these this month. I might not read anything out of this at all, considering I already have so many books started that I need to finish. But yeah, that's basically the video. Yeah. Oops. So these are the books that I'm gonna be reading this month. I'm actually gonna start one now. I think I want to. I'm dropping everything. I think I want to start with Dreamcatcher. Before I start any of these, though, I think I want to start. I want to finish the Percy Jackson book that I'm on. So these are the ones that I'm going to be reading shortly. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later. Bye.